my plan is honestly to not tell people I'm streaming, just so I can post this VOD. AD2L Contender playoffs. This is 5 p.m., 5:11 p.m. my time. Usually the schedule gets released. I ripped off JoJo's playoff predictions because I could do the exact same thing. I had one that looked identical to his. And this is just to say, hey, let's see what they do. I actually brought this up during week one. Week one, I said, hey, playoffs for Contender, what are you going to do? Because you can't have uneven divisions. And Contender, I swear I brought this up. I brought it up once upon a time. I don't know, with the tickets or something. And you know what? I got told, hey, don't worry. We have this. We will make sure it's fair, if regardless of what division you are in. But honestly, after some conversation on Thursday, Friday, it didn't seem that good. I'll see. I'm gonna scroll up the chat, search for. I just want to share Mad Max's statement here. Let me just get out of my as well. Let me just have in my background just my stream, because why not? Look, it's cool that we were discussing all these ideas and all, but keep in mind that pretty much everything you guys are coming up with is currently not implementable. Yeah, sure, if you want to just spend time hitting the button. You have to keep in mind the goals of AD2L to have a perfect system to guarantee maximum competitiveness is simply to provide a semi-competitive environment so that people can play with the team. Yes, I agree. And, I thought Div 2 idea was okay if you do playoffs fairly against familiar teams, not be subject to Smurfs and all the other miseries of pubs. If you look back at the season with that in mind, I'd say we did not what we did was to set out to do. We gave the Contender D2 teams some good competitive matches, ensure they might not be competitive in the Contender playoffs and might mess up the seedings, but with small price to pay. In the end, one team is going to win Contender, and seeding is going to change that. The alternative for D1 and D2 would have been some teams have a shit season, getting stopped the majority of their matches, followed by playoffs that they also would have had no chance. So sure, according to Sleepy, you could GG out of every single normal season game since it doesn't matter for playoffs, but keep that in mind since they only care about the $40 and not the games. The plan is to hit the button and let the site make the playoffs like it always has. So it's going to assume both divisions are equal skill and ROT plus 1-up are going to get bye rounds most likely. I 100% agree with JoJo. We're just going off of some Discord, honestly. The solution isn't hard, and we'll show them. We were talking about this, and I complained about this week one. I said, hey, Div 2 teams should not be above some Div 1 teams because they're going to win some games. Again, technically true, but whatever. I at least gave a solid structure that still gives extra odds a good matchup and gave them the top 2 teams buys. Talus, I don't even know, man. Oracle of Truth. Yeah, like a lot of people were complaining about this in chat. Obviously, 82 admins, what they have done is to completely ignore people when they say stuff. And week one, I asked about this and I got swept underneath the rug and said, don't worry, we will make sure that we do it properly. So, everybody was kind of complaining about this. And people want to make the best playoffs. So I'm going to give my suggestion. I gave in feedback. I asked about it week one. The ticket system, I don't know. The ticket system is iffy because sometimes they just completely ignore your tickets, honestly. They don't take into consideration, yeah, here, we listen to you, but we're going to do what we want to do. Div 2 and Div 1 teams are definitely different leagues of skill. 100%. Either Div 2 gets its own playoffs or Div 2 should be seated under Div 1. Mary Todd Lincoln, TVS Rogue has a couple legends on their team, Div 2, yeah, Dan, defending himself. And yeah, maybe you can be in Div 1. He has an opinion as well. Yeah, I guess I do, but I'm sorry that you're the Div 2's arguably the worst league ever. Um, what else was there? Was there anything else good in this chat? Yikes! Look at these men. These are pretty good looking guys. Let me tell you. Um, um, yeah, that was hard. Honestly, I thought Div 2, first off, was a good idea. I want to make sure. I think making Div 2 a weaker league was fine because then they still get to play their competitive games. You just go into playoffs and whatever. You know what? You lose, you lose. Weaker team, you're going to lose. Guess what? There's weaker teams that play that don't go on many runs. They lose their BO1 in the major playoffs. They lose all 5 games they play or 6 games and they just bow out. You know what? That's life. So you have Div 1. We have Div 2. Div 1 has 8 teams. Div 2 has 6. That's 14 teams. 2 teams will get by because everybody makes it. Mary Todd Lincoln won 0 games. But if you put them in Div 2, they are the best or second best team. Hands down, I think they win double digit numbers. Mr. Juke Boy, you put any Div 1 team here, they will do as well as Extra Lives. I'm not claiming Dan didn't do bad. I think Dan Div 1, he'd be a lower team. I think he'd be 7th best. I voted for him and Dr. Geo's constantly that he was better than Mr. Juke Boy and Mary Todd Lincoln. I do believe that. I also think that Mr. Juke Boy, you swap me with Bums right now. I think Mr. Juke Boy takes Extra Lives 2-1 or something in a series. I 100% believe that. You just have to swap one player out and then I think they'd take over 7th place now with Snowy. 3 legend cores. I'm not taking anything away from Dan's team, but I ran over Mary Todd Lincoln. And I think Mary Todd Lincoln is no offense. But I do think they're a good team. And I think they'd be on top of Mary Todd Div 2. They just kind of got the short end of the stick, honestly. That they got put with us and Div 1. And honestly, my 2 wins were against them, So when I was still on the team and they had a couple of games where they could have won. I think it's pretty demoralizing to lose all your games. But I think you put Extra Lives here. They're at the bottom. Marytown Lincoln at the top. Okay? Like I think Extra Lives, number 7, 8. They're a top 9 team. One hands down, maybe 7th place. Should they so what the button is going to be? This is what it would look like if you consider all is equal and Max hits the button that just says this is how playoffs should be made, which is extremely lazy and uncompetitive. How dare you be so lazy as an admin and just hit a button? Week 1, I said, hey, and you know what? I got a response saying, yeah, we'll look into it and make sure something like that doesn't happen. What's the point of regular season? What's the point of making one tough division if you're going to screw some teams over? If, you know what I'm saying, guys? Like, seriously? You're going to give his team the bye? And listen, I'm not saying all teams want buys. No, there's a team that went 12-0 and they'll probably get a bye or whatever, Sleepy's team, and he's on top of it or whatever. And yeah, but this league is for fun, but at least give the 2 teams, D&D, a bye. They deserve it. They should not be in the same bracket as ROT. They should not listen. Let's say Dan's team is the 4th best team or whatever or something. You're telling me D&D and ROT don't have to take each other out. They honestly should be in separate brackets. They are clearly the top 2 teams. Yes, they can be knocked out 100%. But you're telling me that these 2 teams deserve to be in the same bracket and face each other in the semifinals and not have the potential for grand finals. And Dan, I want to make this clear. I'm not shitting on your team. I think your team is the 7th best. Do you honestly? Oh, that's ESL. The fuck? Do you like? There's these 3 teams. They went 1-1, 1-1, 1-1 against each other. I don't know if Dan's team beats all 3 of these teams. I don't think Dan's team is above these teams. At the best, he's equal with them. At worst, he's 9th. And for being on top of Div 2, and I like the numbers we have. We have 14 teams. let's be smart about it. Let's just rank Div 2 as the next lowest seeds. Just go 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That makes most sense for me because you know what? Ninth seed still faces 8th seed. 10th seed faces 7. And I think Lemon Snow Cones can beat Mr. Juke Boy. I think Esther Lives can beat Mary Todd Lincoln and move on. So they will get a matchup where they can beat them and it's actually fair. Should Extra Lives be a higher seed up here and then get to face a lower end Div 2 team? I don't think so. I think that's a. If the goal is to get as many games as possible, wouldn't Div 1 teams feel cheated by Dan getting the number 1 seed and then back here facing, well, I guess DH Sprout? Like, why does DH Sprout have to play when they played in the tougher league? Should they not get to play against one of the other most likely Div 1 teams in the middle of the pack once they go up? Like, why are they, like, I don't think it matters first round for DH Sprout, but it's like, why does Dan's team deserve to be higher seed than DH Sprout? Why does he deserve higher than D&D? You know, like, why are we rating, why are we hitting a button? You're assuming Mr. Juke Boy is as good as these two guys and worse than these two teams. Juke, my plan is just to post a video. Honestly, I'm just posting a YouTube video. No schedule. I just wanted a YouTube video. So I think this is garbage. And you know what, Miss Jojo, this is Jojo's. And if Max does this, honestly, like Max and Seth, come on. Let's do a little more. This guy does not deserve first seed over D&D. He deserves to play in the first round. He does deserve an easier matchup against Mary Todd Lincoln, and he probably will beat him. But he does not deserve to be a higher seed than any of these 6 teams. He does not deserve to be first seed. And D&D and result-oriented thinkers do not deserve to be on the same side of the bracket. They deserve an opportunity to face each other in a BO5 Grand Finals. This is a completely random one where they just completely randomize D1, D2, Red 5. There it is. Dan's team got it up. This is completely random. You know what? They could do that and say, anybody could play Div 1, Div 2. They completely randomize it and say, you know what? We don't care about any standings. Here we go. Also pretty shitty because then you make regular season worth nothing, which is kind of what this is doing too. It's making Div 1 basically. Congrats on playing in a harder division. We're just going to give Div 2 teams a higher seeding. Okay, just checking. This, in my opinion, 14 teams is the most fair bracket. You rate Div 1, 1 to 8. You rank Div 2, 9 to 14. You give the top 2 teams in Division 1 the buys. ROT and D&D do not deserve to be on the same bracket side. We're still promoting Div 2, and if you win it, yeah, you get a good matchup. You get a good matchup against... Where is it? Oh, I'm clicking the wrong run. MTL. MTL won 0 games this season. They almost won a couple in Contender. Honestly, it could be a 2-1. Heck, you could lose against MTL. You know, Dan's team could win. MTL probably has low morale. Dan's team won 11 out of 12 games. Dan's team did extremely well. However, I do think that there's no way you could be a higher seed. You still get a good matchup. So some people suggest maybe Dan's team. One thing I talked about is, okay, if we're already doing this, why not do a little more? Put Dan's team where Lemon Snow Cones is and put Lemon Snow Cones. Dan gets that opportunity to not face D&D anymore. I think this is really bad because then we're just changing the bracket. At least we're doing 1 to 14. Now we're just swapping because Dan's team... because we think Dan's team deserves a little more. I don't think Dan's team deserves more for being in Div 2. I wish he was a Div 1. Put MTL bottom. MTL does really well. Dan's team, I think, is near the bottom. Maybe his Dan's team comes second place. Who knows? I also like this bracket because it pairs a Div 1 team with a Div 2 team. So Fellowship of Ping facing Instigators. That's going to be a fun matchup if that's who they are. Or Savage Sabers. We got DH Sprout against them. We have Red 5 versus Minenses, and we have Petting Zoo Rejects versus TVS. Like, you have a Div 1, Div 2 team facing each other in the uh, bottom 12, bottom of the 14. So, I don't know. I don't know. This is how I feel. This is very fair because I think most likely the Div 1 teams will win, minus maybe MTL versus down. MTL versus 1 Up. And I think MGB versus Lemon Snow Cones are going to be pretty close matchups. And they probably will be. Because, 7, 10, 8, 9, they'll be close. But obviously, Fellowship of the Ping, if they're 4 seed or 5 seed, they'll most likely, anyways, face number 8 there. They'll beat Instigators. They'll beat Savage Sabers. Not the biggest deal. So this is kind of my overall opinion. I really strongly hope that Mad Max takes in consideration from when I asked him in week 1. By the way, week 1, I said, "Hey, Div 2's weaker. How's playoffs going to work out then? Are we going to see them differently?" He said, "Don't worry. We're going to take that in consideration. If he puts Dan's team as another bye, he obviously did not take them in consideration and took the lazy way out. Should that be an admin?" Okay. Thank you all for watching this content. I'll be putting this up on YouTube, and you'll probably only see this on YouTube since I told nobody about this. When I see the playoff bracket, I might go more in depth and my opinion on brackets, because you know what, they could randomize it. They could change it to this, which is a little ridiculous, I think. It's kind of silly to assume MJB deserves to be as low seed, and then Savage Sabers TVS get to be higher than them, and Lemon Snow Cones is equal to these 3 teams. Seems a little ridiculous to me. So that's my opinion on this. This is, you know, I'm very curious. I'm very curious what the admins will do. I really hope they don't hit a button. Hopefully, maybe they'll look at this video. Who knows? Who knows? Anyways, thank you all for watching. Peace.